Hey everyone, welcome to the Powered by Iron Health podcast. I'm Joe, this is Alina. How's it going?
Great.
So before we dive into today's episode and talk, we are here to create a community that raises the standard of health and wellness. I am full all in on that mission statement, and it's really going to be a topic of today's discussion too, because educating people on what that means is super important. And we're going to dive a lot into that today, and I hope you get enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk about our company's culture and vision because we are heading into our 10-year anniversary in 2026, and I have had the pleasure or the really awesome experience of watching Joe here not only create this community, but also build it and grow it. When I first met Joe, when we first started dating, I guess, too, I mean, it was kind of the same time. He had one table in a personal training studio and he had a vision. And now we're at 4 locations throughout the tri-state area. And it's just incredible. And what has changed for us tremendously and been a catalyst for more growth, especially in the last 2 to 3 years, has been getting really clear on our company's values and our mission and vision. So I'm really excited to talk to you about it today.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Where do you want to start?
Well, you already just shared the vision.
And side note, when we were dating, official dating date is different for both of us.
Definitely different.
Just as a side note.
Second side note, I reached out to Joe.
Yeah, so she had a vision. Okay, go ahead. That's where you want to start.
So we just went over the vision, creating a community that raises the standard of health and wellness. What about the mission? Tell us more what we're trying to do, how many lives we're trying to impact, and also going back to the vision a little bit, what creating a community that raises the standard of health and wellness means to you.
Sure. So we have this number of changing 100,000 people's lives, and that's kind of been in the back of my mind ever since starting Iron Health. Like, ever since becoming a PT, it's like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And at the end of the day, it's to help change someone's life. I think about my story, which I've said multiple times, when I tore my ACL, and I remember going to my PT, and the care I got from them. I was a scared little 17-year-old, like, damn, I'm never going to be able to run. I'm never going to be able to do anything again. And the PT is the one who really helped shape my mindset and then my physicality to get back to running and playing football. And I'm like, this is what I want to do, right? So that's the origination story. But the bigger thing is the change in someone's life that they had in me. I still think about that, right? Like, it's kind of powerful to say that your PT was able to change your life. And I know you have a similar story too, right? Like, how much did you love your PT when you tore your ACL?
I mean, he was great for me. I was definitely psychologically in a low state and mentally unwell for a lot of my recovery, especially early on. I think you said you had one-on-one PT though, right? With this therapist?
I think so, yeah.
I didn't, and he still had a tremendous impact. I personally also don't need that type of attention for me to really get shit done, I think, in general. So it was okay. He pushed me. He absolutely pushed me. And I was also doing weight room at the time for cheerleading. So I had double the amount of strength training that I was doing. But I'm sure that if I spent more time with him one-on-one, it would have even had a bigger impact. And I know that for Iron Health, I see it. I actually see it when I'm in our offices and I see the PTs there working with people recovering from post-op or recovering from an injury or just helping them get back to movement in general, things that they love doing. You can tell the bond and the connection that's being formed when you're just with that person alone. Like, you really do build a relationship. One of the PTs that we have, shout out to Dr. Fern, said if I don't want to have dinner with them, or if I don't create that experience, or we're out to dinner and having a conversation, that is what we're striving for in a PT setting. And that's really cool. That's a really great way to look at it. You're building a connection with somebody and you're building a bond with them, and you're also helping them get better. That's the best.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think, kind of going back to our vision and where that crafted from was really my experience when I had my ACL and looking at the field. Firstly, when I had my ACL, I knew I wanted to be a PT, and I was tunnel vision to becoming a PT. That was my priority, and I wanted to be the best orthopedic PT. And I'm very tunnel vision, and I will accomplish things that way. It's just the type of person I am. And as I started to go through PT school, and during PT school you do rotations in different clinics, a lot of them were what we traditionally call like mills or like a factory. It's sad to say, but there's a ton of them out there where it's one PT trying to manage 5 patients. And when I was in one of them particularly, I knew that I did not want to do that because there's a lot of burden being a PT. You have to do notes correctly. You have to make sure you're billing correctly. And on top of that, now you have to manage 5 people at once. How are you progressing someone? How are you knowing what bothers them? How are you adjusting things? So I knew at that moment that there needed to be a shift in the entire industry. And like really, there's nothing really out there that's facilitating leading that charge. And in my mind, I was like, why not I create that? Because I know there's a lot of PTs in the world who are in these mills who get burned out. They're seeing 25 people a day. I've had multiple conversations with people who said, I contemplated leaving the profession because of the way it is. And that's sad to see that because most PTs who get into that profession are doing it to help people back. That aligns with our mission of like changing lives. So now they're in these big corporations, these big mill clinics, and they lose that passion and that drive to actually change someone's lives. So we're doing this to show that it's possible and to get the best PTs to commit their time one-on-one with someone to actually make sure they get better and better faster a lot of the time. So that's a big plus there. So as I went through kind of that flow in PT school, I did have one rotation where I was with someone who had a similar model, really committed to the clients, really spent so much time with them. And he was a model for what I knew was possible. And that's kind of the next steps we took. And that's kind of led us to where we are now in reality.
That's really cool. And I want to from there go into the values, because you had this vision of what you see PT being like, and we'll also talk a little bit about where you see the future of healthcare going, being in this space for 10 years now. But I would love to hear from you, because I know personally I've seen your values and I've seen Iron Health grow and come to life, what the values of Iron Health are and why they're so important to not just you, but in general to the company and the organization. So
values, this is something, as I went through, I'll preface this, as I went through PT school, obviously I was so gung-ho on being the best orthopedic PT, and I still love PT and I still love helping people. But when you transition to where Iron Health is now, we're at 4 locations, 30 plus employees, my focus has to change, and has to change to make sure that this business is successful and this vision can come to life and actually start to grow, and you create a ripple effect that creates a wave, right? So we're starting to create a wave, and where I am now is very different from where I was 5-6 years ago. I'm trying to really push that way forward. So I say that to say where we pull the values from. I've taken a lot of courses on how to run a business, and a healthcare business is very challenging. We'll get into that later, but the small fish, it's hard. It's hard. I say every day is a fight, and that's the truth of this, because it is. You're fighting big insurances, you're fighting big medical, you're fighting big pharma, you're fighting everybody, and you have to be built for that. One of the courses was like, you need to create values for your company, which is your operating system. That was the highlight of the biggest thing that I noticed that stuck out to me is, how do we have a back-end operating system that everyone on the team is aligned with and driving forward to, and then eventually that becomes a part of who you are and your culture is embedded in you. So it's not just hanging something on the wall and saying these are our values. It's like, this is how we operate, this is how we live, this is how we check behavior, this is how we call people out, this is how we praise people, because you need that operating system to understand, like, to set your culture of a company. Culture.
How we hire. It's huge how we hire.
It's huge. It's the biggest thing in any company. So as we went through a value writing procedure, I remember when we first did our values, and I don't think we were merged yet. And we could talk a little bit about that too. But
I think you had like 5 or 8 values. You had a lot.
We had like 9 values, and I used to play a game. I used to challenge someone on staff to tell me all the 9 values, and they couldn't. So in my mind, having 9 values was actually a burden, because if we're going to live by these values, live, breathe, and talk about them all the time, how can we expect people to remember 9 and then call them out and have that behavior? So a couple of years ago, we really ironed it out to say we need 3 solid values that, like, hey, this is how we operate. And it took us about, I don't know, 4 to 8 hours just to come up with these values. And it was my leadership team at that moment to say, how do we want to operate? How do we want people to feel when they're in the office? How do we want the culture to feel? How do we make sure that we keep moving forward? What's our operating system? We came up with these 3 values that merged a lot of our old 9 values and kind of created new ones. So the first one was make a positive impact, right? Because we never want to forget what we do, whether it's fitness or physical therapy or acupuncture, massage, all these other services that are going to be coming. Never forget the main thing is to make a positive impact in someone's life. Whether that's to just make sure when they come in you greet them and say hello, or hey, we're going to actually drastically take you, for example, when you had your ACL, you were in a bad psychological state. Like, we're going to walk someone from a bad psychological state to performing at a very high level, like making an extreme positive impact. Now, that also takes into effect how we talk to each other in the office. We have meetings all the time, and a part of our meetings is what's a positive, like, because no matter what, someone might be having a bad day, but if we're able to pull out a positive, you can highlight that, you can feel grateful, you can change your physiological state from that before you get into all the other things. So, like, how are we making positive impacts in each other's lives is just as important as we do with our customers in the culture and in the actual doing of the work stuff. So that was a big one, and that's kind of a big foundation for that. The second one we have is solution-driven ownership. Now, if anyone has ever heard of Jocko Willink, he has a book called Extreme Ownership. It's kind of fostered over that, and we really put a twist on it to say, all right, what do we want in a company? Like, we don't need people who are always looking for the answers. I want people who are going to take full solution, execute on something, and then drive it forward. And if it doesn't work, we figure it out. Because me being the seat I'm in, I don't know everything, and that's okay. Like, we're going to learn. We're going to learn together, and we want that across the board in everyone in the company. And again, that transfers to our clients as well. Like, if we have a client in our fitness program, like, hey, we're going to help hold you accountable to make sure you're coming to the classes, but you have to take some ownership to make sure you show up. You want to change your life? We're here to change your life, but you have to take some ownership too. It goes back and forth.
Same thing with like nutrition too. We'll give the tools and resources, but we're not putting food in your mouth at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So
there has to be a level of ownership. We say solution driven because at the end of the day, if you own it and you say, hey, I know this is an issue, like, what is a solution you can do? And I talk to people all the time, like, a solution doesn't need to be something that is very big. Like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. What is one thing you can change this week to try to adjust so you make sure you're on track next week? Like, having these conversations around that. I have that with my staff. I have that with my clients, because it's really a massive component to change behavior, and that's huge. Our last one is pursuit of excellence. I say it all the time in our meetings, like, this is one that's in our personal life too. I mean, a lot of these are in our personal life, but pursuit of excellence is a highlight one in our personal life. And what that means is that we are on a quest to never stop learning, trying new things, and seeing how we can be better in everything we do. If that means trying a new program for fitness to see what something works, having PT in services to make sure that we're educating our PTs and getting better with techniques and exercises and progressions and regressions. Is there a way to enhance healing from bringing some other modality in? Like, we're always looking and advancing, because the healthcare and like health and wellness is going to keep growing, and we need to be at the forefront of that. And the pursuit of excellence goes back to what I was saying before too. You can never be stagnant. You always have to be evolving to be like, how do we be better in every category of what we do? It's that unruling pursuit of getting better. Like, that has to be embodied in our DNA. For Iron Health, like, we are fighting these big companies, so having people on board who understand that this is a fight and we need to just be better in at least 2% in every area to take it to the next level is massive. So those are our 3 big values that we operate the company.
yeah, I would even say pursuit of excellence too has to do with, again, talking about the future of healthcare everything's becoming so streamlined and it's all like, profit over people in a lot of ways where maybe your plan of care doesn't matter. Me and Joe can have the same injury and I don't do the same type of activities that he does, and I'm still getting the same exercises and treatment plan and movements that he is. And Pursuit of Excellence is making sure that we're two individuals and we're each getting something that's going to be suitable for who we are, what our goals are, and not just, run of the mill. And also how we're talking to people. You call a medical office these days and you get an automated system and you get transferred around. I remember early on in my pregnancy this time around, just trying to make an appointment for a sonogram. It literally took me over an hour to make a sonogram appointment. It's the Pursuit of Excellence is making sure that people are getting what they need when they need it. And if they're not, and they're expressing that to us, we're talking as a team. We have chats going all day, every day to make sure that if something isn't happening or somebody's not getting what they want or a client or a patient is calling and complaining, we're addressing that. We're not just like every person that comes through our door is a person. They're not just a number to us. So it's really important, I think, bringing that into what we think like the future of healthcare is going to be like. Pursuit of Excellence isn't just self-development, growth, making sure that our PTs are continuing to educate and learn, and our trainers, and whatever that is. And we do have people on staff that, for them, like their Pursuit of Excellence are physical feats. We have one of our directors who's done multiple Ironmans at this point, and that's Pursuit of Excellence. But Pursuit of Excellence is also in the sphere of building Iron Health and providing a service that is premier to our people, truly raising the standard. So I think that Pursuit of Excellence is one that just kind of hits on a lot of different things when it comes to Iron Health.
For sure. And I think you mentioned on something there, which is a good segue into how are we going to be pursuing excellence with Iron Health, and really going back to the vision. Again, this was created originally as like I was a PT and I was like, I want a PT company. But the more I start to get into PT and realize and I'll tell you a story of when I was in PT school, they would always pitch the Vision 2020 where, hey, all PTs now are DPTs, you're doctors of physical therapy. People can come to you off the street. You don't need a prescription from an MD because like if someone has an ache and a pain, why go to an MD when you can just go to a PT? They would pitch that vision, but in reality, there's no one leading that front. Like this needs to be a collective of all the PTs now. Like, hey, we're doctors too. Like we have to be leading that front to help educate the public of what we do. So as we start to progress through this, and it will start to hit, right? But I want Iron Health to be a front runner in that category where the PTs are kind of that top continuum of running these health kind of boutique clinics. You have your PTs and you have, what we did was you brought in small group training, which we'll talk about our story of how that evolved. But what other modalities can you bring into this to help to make sure people are healthy as a human and not just, hey, you have pain, let's get you out of pain. That's why we brought in small group, and it's like, what else can we do? Are there going to be fields of kind of biologics, of peptides that we can bring in? Is there some sort of online programming to make sure people are continually evolving? Do we have like a nutritionist in that category? Do you have a massage? Do you have acupuncture? How big can you take this of an umbrella to be health and wellness and not just one thing of PT? And the health and wellness is going to be very different than these mill clinics. The mill clinics, like Alina was alluding to before, these big clinics, they're all getting bought out by corporate, and they just look at profit and loss statements in the end of the day. So they will burn people out. They do not care. And for them, services don't matter. It's a matter of the bottom line. So you will see a divide where you'll have a ton of these mill clinics, and then you're just going to have these concierge health clinics. Like PT is going to be falling into the health and wellness category because they'll be the doctors leading all these other services as we continue to grow. So I'm really excited for that for the future. We are at 4 clinics now. Looking back in retrospect, it's a challenge. I will not lie. It stresses our life. It stresses my life. It stresses our marriage. Like it's a very challenge to do this, but I'm committed to the vision of growing this, right? And at the end of the day, we need people who are aligned with this vision to make sure we can continue to scale. Because something like this, I know, is like so many people need this. Like it's gonna be the change that we want to see, where we have this under one umbrella and people are just healthier overall, right? We're in America where fast food is $1 and Sodas are supersized.
And organic food is $10.
Yeah. So you need the support and you know, you need the education. And that's kind of a big, beautiful thing that PTs as doctors can start to help deliver that education, and we could start to expand that. So I'm excited for that. And, you know, eventually we will go back to rescaling offices because I want this to get to 100,000 people. And then once we hit that, we'll go to 1 million. That will be our new number, right? So I'm really, really happy about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We take it in steps too, you know, just so, you know, we know this kind of vision really elapsed when Alina and I were together, and she used to have a gym, right? A small group training gym, spin studio.
Yeah, I've had so many evolutions of what I did and the type of fitness structure I offered people, and it was always community based, always boutique style, but it went from large group classes, a lot of people in a class, high energy, great music, fun, fast pace, and then starting to offer more small group when COVID happened. And that I actually have come to love even more because of the relationship building. You get to build stronger relationships with people in those settings and provide people more of what they're looking for and what they need as an individual versus like a spin class. You're going to have everybody coming in, and I'm not knocking spin. If there's something that you're doing to make your life better, keep doing it. But in that type of setting, you're doing the same thing for everybody. You're not getting a hill and you're getting a sprint because you have different goals, or because you're maybe feeling tightness in your hips and you shouldn't be, you know, seated the whole time or whatever, you know, like it's not as customized. And I loved that about small group. And when we had our first child, it just made sense for us to merge businesses, and it helped. I mean, it aligned with Iron Health Vision.
Yeah,
So
I think that's the biggest thing. Like when we were kind of deciding what to do, it's like this just aligns what Iron Health's vision is. And it's the perfect segue for us to introduce this type of service and then continue to develop down the health and wellness world, because again, we want to be the leaders in that, and we're looking for leaders in that to help us with that. Whether you're someone who wants to use our services and wants the best, or someone who is looking for a place to work that's you align with these visions. I think it's very important because we need that.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely different than your typical run-of-the-mill place.
For sure.
Yeah. Great.
All right, guys, if you have any questions, hope you got some enjoyment out of this. Let us know. We're going to keep pushing these out. We're going to keep growing. We're not going to stop.